So we're all stuck at home, people, as COVID-19 has officially turned into a global pandemic. Now, for many of us, this is the first time we experience such a phenomenon. But actually, there's been many pandemics in the past. And so, from our newly established studios here on my couch in the Üsküdar district of Istanbul, we bring you the worst 6 pandemics in history. So the first one was the Black Death, and it appeared first in the 14th century. The Black Death was a plague that ravaged Europe, Africa and Asia with an estimated death toll of 75 to 200 million people. It was also known as the bubonic plague, and symptoms included fever, headaches, chills, weakness and swollen lymph nodes. At the time, the plague most likely jumped continents via the fleas living on the rats, frequently living on merchant ships. The disease still exists today, but lucky for us, antibiotics are very effective in treating it. The second one is the Spanish flu. Now, the Spanish flu was an influenza epidemic that came at the end of World War I between the years of 1918 and 1920. It is estimated that around 500 million people, around 1/3 of the world's population at the time, was infected by the virus. Ultimately, 50 million people lost their lives because of the Spanish flu, with an estimated 675,000 people dying in the US alone. Effects of the Spanish flu included fluid-filled lungs, as well as severe pneumonia and lung tissue inflammation. It's important to note that work to replicate the virus was carried out in 2005 to help address future pandemics. The third one is the Asian flu. The Asian flu was a pandemic outbreak of influenza A H2N2 subtype. It began in China in 1956 and lasted for 2 years. Known as the Asian flu, it first started in the Chinese province of Guizhou and then traveled to Singapore, then to Hong Kong and then to the United States. The World Health Organization concluded that more than 2 million people died worldwide because of the Asian flu. The fourth one on the list was actually a genetic offshoot of the Asian flu, and it appeared in 1968 and became known as the Hong Kong flu. The first reported case appeared on July 13, 1968 in Hong Kong. After 17 days, outbreaks of the virus were reported in Singapore and Vietnam, and within 3 months it had spread to the Philippines, India, Australia, Europe and the United States. More than 1 million people lost their lives because of the Hong Kong flu. 500,000 of them were residents of Hong Kong, which represented around 15% of the population. In more recent times, 2009 saw the H1N1 virus emerge from the US and spread around the world. It's more commonly referred to as the swine flu. Between April 12, 2009 and April 10, 2010, there were 60.8 million cases reported, 274,304 hospitalizations, and 12,469 deaths in the US due to the virus. An estimated 575,400 people died around the world, and unlike the current coronavirus, the 2009 flu pandemic primarily affected children and middle-aged adults. And finally, first identified in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in 1976, HIV/AIDS has been one of the deadliest global pandemics, killing more than 36 million people since 1981. Currently, there are between 31 and 35 million people living with HIV. The vast majority of these people live in sub-Saharan Africa, where 5% of the population is infected, roughly 21 million people. Different treatments have been developed, however, making the disease more manageable. So for example, recently it was announced that a second HIV patient had been cured using stem cell research in the UK. And so humanity has lived through many pandemics before. The question is, how bad will this one get?